back to Less Lethal Contingencies. Alan here. Welcome to another episode of the Experimental Zone, okay? Where we try some new stuff, we experiment, and we just in hopes of getting some data and seeing what works and what doesn't work. Anyways, so today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be repeating the test that I did the other day with my X68, my Pistelle X68, with the 7-inch barrel, the 12 gram cartridge, CO2 in the handle, and the SSD power mod, okay, the slim SSD that I've had for, I don't know, 5-6 months now. Hadn't got a lot of use with it, but lately in testing this new modified Birdcage, I've been getting some use in it for testing on CO2 only anyways. So what I wanted to do was repeat the test because I hadn't done a test, I guess, with the SSD slim power mod and the factory Birdcage or Plenum Spacer, okay? So yesterday I just did a test with the modified Spacer or Plenum, what we call the Birdcage, okay, the modified one, right? I had an extra bolt and valve assembly, so I decided to modify this one and basically oblong out the circular holes and allow more volume in here, okay, more airflow and volume. So I had only tested on this, okay, and the idea was basically that test was competing with the factory test that I did with and the modification of the Birdcage test that I did with the HD24 short ASA. However, I was having a lot of problems with that short version 1 ASA causing auto fire. So at the end of the day, I really didn't feel like I could get some useful data out of it with that particular ASA. So I decided to use the Sterling CO2 only, okay? This is just strictly for CO2. There's no way of connecting a tank, right? A bottle to this. So I figured since this modification shows the most hope in with use with CO2 for gaining gains to be seen in joules and also maybe more importantly consistency, I felt like this would be a good candidate to test next with. So with that being said, yeah, all that I just said and probably confused y'all is I'm confused. I wanted to do another test and just basically run a test with the factory Birdcage, which is installed in here now, the SSD mod, power mod slim. And then once I do that and get some data on that, feet per second, then I'm going to install again the modified, the Birdcage that I modified, the Plenum, okay? And then we'll repeat another 6 shots. We're going to be using the same ammunition, which is the best stuff that I have that's bore matched to my barrels is the 684 10 gram AR tactical joules. Okay, so in all these tests, I'm going to be using only that ammunition. No matter what, these guns are powerful enough to handle 10 gram ammo anyway, so no problems there. But I do want to make sure that it's bore matched, okay? These barrels that I'm using, like the barrel specifically in this Pistelle X-68, is a stainless steel 685 with a stainless steel 685 2.5-inch extension barrel. Both the main barrel 4.5 inch and the 2.5-inch extension that's on here, given a combined 7 inches, both have been honed out so that I can run 685 ammo in here. So it's probably closer to a 686 bore. Okay, but 685 ammo, no problem. All day long, we'll run through this barrel, okay? However, I will be using the 684 10 gram joules, okay? That's what I'll be using in these tests, just like I did on the previous test. So with all that mumbo jumbo out of the way, all that technical jargon, I'm gonna go ahead and gas up the X68 and with the factory Birdcage, take 6 shots, and then we'll degas, and we'll load another CO2 in after I change out the Birdcage for the modified one. Okay, so it took me 5 minutes to go through that. I apologize. But I just kind of wanted to let you know why I'm redoing elements of this test, doing a retake on the test. Okay, so let's do that. Let's go ahead and air it up, or I should say gas it up. Now, I'm pretty sure I got this tight. The other day I didn't have it quite. I only had it snugged up, and there was a slight leak in here that did end up correcting itself. But today I got it pretty tight. So if I need to go tighter, I got my non-marring channel locks. All right, let's air her up, gas her up. It looks good. It's tight. All right, so I got a good puncture there. I could hear it. And everything sounds good with that. And no leaks. No leaks is good. So on CO2, which it's loud, but it's not as loud as it is on high pressure air. So I think I'll be all right without my ear protection. So we're going to start off with these 10 gram AR Tactical joules. Again, these are 684. Okay, so they look like. These are like an iron infused type of round, so they're really nice. They tend to last pretty, last a while, and you're not dealing with polymer or plastic jackets over steel that tend to split or swell, which I've already seen some of that on these new hammer rounds. So honestly, these are 684 as well, 10 gram, but these do crack. They can swell quite a bit. I had one basically burning through my barrel because it was swollen. So in lieu of these tests and the fact that I don't want any of that going on, I'm going to go back to the old faithful here, which is my go-to, which is the 10 gram joules. Okay, you don't have any possibility of these happen. The worst that's going to happen to these is they'll crack. They'll split right in half or something. I've had maybe, as long as I've been shooting these, I've had maybe 2 or 3 at the most crack in the trap, more than likely from hitting another one of their rounds, which the best of ammunition will do that. So so that is what we're using today. They technically measure in at about 9.9 grams, okay? These 10 gram joules. So let's load 1, 2, 3. Again, there's 6 in here. And let's capture some feet per second. Again, this is with the factory Birdcage. Also, the factory 60 millimeter bolt spring is in here. And other than the 7-inch barrel and the SSD slim power mod, some power mod, everything else is factory on here. Okay. And let's start here. Mag 1, shot 1, factory Birdcage. 422 feet per second. Wow, I had that sitting a little while. That's pretty good. 422. Holy moly. All right. Shot 2. 410 feet per second. Shot 3. 384 feet per second. Shot 4. 358 feet per second. Shot 5. 310 feet per second. And the last one, shot 6. 244 feet per second. Big dip on that last one, number 6, but even at 244 feet per second, 10 gram ammo, my guess is it's still going to be coming in somewhere around, I don't know, 25, 30 joules or something. But yeah, that first shot, really, really powerful. Really, really good. I imagine the numbers are going to be really good on this with the factory Birdcage. So I don't know if we're going to see any gains in power or not, switching over to the modified Birdcage. I do believe I had some gains in consistency the other day, but this will be a more apples to apple type of test. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll see what we get. So let's go ahead and degas. Yeah, nothing frosty coming out, so. All right, we're gonna degas. While I'm changing this out, the gun will have some time to warm up a little bit. Yeah, much better puncture. Pretty good puncture there. All right. We're gonna leave this puncture cap off while we switch this out. This way we can let the gun warm up a little bit more. Also in my pocket, I have another 12 gram that is keeping itself nice and cozy. So let's go ahead and take off the, yep, that's much tighter today on there. We'll take the SSD power mod off. And we'll swap out the bird cages and try out this this makeshift modification that I did here. All right, O-ring looks good. Everything looks good. Let's get needle nose pliers. Yeah, that first shot, like, what was it, 422? Goodness, that's over 75 joules, I'm pretty sure. Man, I hope we can beat that. That was a hot shot. All right. Come on. Let's put the gun down a little bit here. And make sure that my bolt bumper stays on there. Okay. All right, so there's the factory. Okay, the factory Birdcage or air plenum or spacer. Okay. All right, so we got that. And here is the spare part that I had that I modified, that I filed out with a round file. I didn't go crazy. I kind of filed it down to about where just where it starts to get a little beefier for the 021 O-ring groove. And I chose not to continue filing in this direction. I probably could have taken a little more meat out, but I didn't want to take too much out, okay? All right, so opening that up, my hopes was that I would gain some consistency under CO2 especially, okay? Maybe a little bit of power as well, but consistency is really what I was going for, okay? So that is the modified Birdcage. We're going to install that in there. And then we're going to reinstall the SSD Slim, okay, Slim Power Mod. Now this is, I don't know if he calls it his second generation or not, but pretty sure it wasn't his first generation. It has that, what do they call it? Or what did he call it? I keep wanting to say lip or something. The other day I mentioned what the heck it was. Anyways, I'll include it in the video, but it's kind of like, it kind of provides a place for the Birdcage to seat up against and keeps that Birdcage from the possibility of it not, it kind of going cockeyed on you, for lack of another term. Goodness, what did I call it the other day? Can't remember. Actually, ledge, maybe like a ledge. Actually, let's look at that, because it is important, because these are known to sometimes act up, and just loosening up the ASA and tighten it back up can correct a situation you can get with these. But essentially, I will use the factory one to show, for example, that little ledge or shelf. I was trying to remember the name that the term that I think Dan used, right? I think he called it a shelf, right? But basically, see, it seats right on there, okay? And that keeps it, unlike all the other ASAs where it just pushes up against here and that's it, okay? That allows the Birdcage or the air plenum or spacer, depending on what you want to call it, to stay locked in like that. This way there's no chance of it shifting. So, because there is some wobble on the valve, on the shaft itself. There is some play. If this comes back cockeyed or something, it can cause a problem with the gun. Usually loosening it up or de-airing it and, straightens it out. But that's what that shelf was designed to do, was to keep this true, if you would, okay? Maybe I didn't do the best to explain it, I don't know. Hopefully I did some justice to explain it, but that is what this particular, what I would think is his second generation power mod. Okay, that's the difference, as far as I'm understanding it anyways. All right, so with all that, we got the modified Birdcage in here. We're going to repeat the test, and I don't mind talking a little bit longer. You're probably thinking, yeah, this guy's always talking, right? Get right to it. Okay, well, with these particular experiments, it is necessary to give a little backstory, if you would, okay? And in the meantime, the gun's also warming up, okay? So we can have, hopefully, a more accurate second part of this test. All right, I'll make sure that that's good and tight, because the other day I did have a little bit of a leak on it. So, all right, that looks good. We're going to drop in a CO2. These are Umerix branded CO2s. That is all I'm using these days. I've had too many issues with other brands. And for $30 for 50 of these, it's a good price anyways. It's like 60 cents a piece. I mean, sometimes you can get them on sale and even get them cheaper than that. So, all right, the gun's got plenty of silicone oil in it because I've been lubricating it like crazy lately, so I'm not going to concern myself with lubricating again. The previous cartridge that I installed did have a couple drops of super lube on it. So there's ample lubrication in this gun. All right. All right, got the quick puncture on. Got this thing. I'm gonna grab a couple of these rounds out of here. This way I ain't smashing up my rounds. Guys, it's really always a good idea to keep your target traps clean. Don't let your ammo stack up too much in here. That's 4. I shot 6. Where are the other 2? They must have went flying somewhere. That is one way that these joules especially will crack in half, is if they come in contact with another one inside the target traps. So good idea. Oh, there's another one right there. All right, so I got one there, and there must be another one floating around somewhere. Floating around. Just want to make sure that I don't have them in the trap. All right, that one's got all kinds of dog fur on it too. Isn't that nice? Life with a German Shepherd. You know, I love her, but they shed like crazy. But she's a good girl though. All right, so I still got one probably rolled around under one of these things. So anyways, I got them out of the trap. That's what I wanted to do, just to make sure there was no issue there. All right, so this is going to be the second part of the test. We're going to air this up, or gas it up on CO2. Again, 7-inch barrel, okay, 685 barrel, honed out, call it 686, 7-inch long, stainless steel barrel, SSD slim power mod, and 12 gram in the handle, 10 gram ammo. 684 is the size of the ammo. And yeah, let's modified Birdcage in there. Let's see what we get for numbers. All right. All right, we're going to have to shoot fast because I got me a leak. All right, I have a second mag already loaded up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 10 gram joules. Yeah. All right, shot 1. 382 feet per second. Still leaking. Shot 2. 376 feet per second. And that is that. Well, I'm glad we had some numbers with the modified Birdcage previously, but it sounds like something happened with that 011 on the back of the SSD mod. I'll pull it out and see now, but it may have rolled or something. Ah, that's a bummer. I really wanted this test. What did I have? 3. Yeah, we only got like 1 shot out of it. It's 4. 5. We got 2 shots, I think it was. All right, that is a bummer. A bum deal. All right. Well, sometimes that's how it rolls. Let me take a look. Do I have another CO2 down here? If I have another CO2, and maybe I can correct this. I think I got 1 spare one down here, but it all depends on what happened here, what this looks like. All right, let's take a look inside and see what the heck happened here. Let's see if we can see that's on there good and tight. Good and tight. Wow, okay. Son of a gun. I am going to need to use this with these, I think, to get this off. Let's see. There we go. Even though these are non-marring, they still do bugger up stuff. So anytime I use them on something painted like that, I take the extra precaution and put a rag over it. I got enough Mars on stuff here. Try to keep the stuff looking decent, but it's inevitable. Sometimes you scratch something up. So, well, the 011, it is intact. So I don't know if it rolled or what happened. I don't really see anything. That's a white urethane 011 O-ring there. And it seems to be fine. It worked just fine on the other one. Maybe it was something to do with the O-rings in the Birdcage. Don't know if I'm going to see anything. Come on, give her back. Let's see what we can see in here. I just have a Boona 90 for the inner O-ring in here, which has been working. I just put this in the other day, and it's been holding up. They're not really that great with CO2, but I would think it would last a little longer, so maybe that's where my problem was. I am going to, but since I don't really have any other good urethane ones, the new one that I bought, I'm still testing, and I'm not sure if that one's working well or not on here. So I am going to pause this video. I'm going to go change out that inner O-ring on my modified Birdcage, and then I'm going to come right back and we're going to repeat the second part of this test, hopefully leak free. So I'll be right back after these messages. All right, I'm back. Whew. Okay, so I think it was probably that inner O-ring, okay, on the modified Birdcage. This Birdcage has seen better days, so I put a new 13 by 1.5 millimeter O-ring inside there. We got some silicone grease that I put in there, and we're just going to go ahead and a couple globs of silicone grease. We're going to go ahead and put this modified Birdcage back in there, just to play it safe, in case I had an issue with that 011, that urethane, that older 011 that was on the SSD power mod. It was a used O-ring that I stuck on there, so just in case, I am going to, well, I already did upstairs in the office. I replaced that white urethane with an orange colored urethane 011, okay, just to play it safe. And we're going to put her back together. I got another 12 gram CO2 in my pocket. All right. This is real world stuff here, right? Troubleshooting as we go. Troubleshooting and repairing as we go. I mean, these O-rings are so easy to replace. That's what's really nice about this particular marker, the X-68 and the Intrabuster Gen 2, and for that matter, even the BP50. You know, I mean, most of the O-rings that you're going to have problems with, actually pretty much all of them are all accessible. So I don't sweat it. I don't sweat it if something happens. Of course, you do want to make sure you're using good O-rings so that you have some reliability there, but, you know, but we're testing. We're in a testing environment right now. We're experimenting. So it's okay. All right, that's good and tight. All right. Clearly the mock has had time to warm up. This whole process was probably about 5-6 minutes now. It took me to go swap out the inner Birdcage O-ring. So we're going to repeat the second part of this test naturally. And let me get the fresh CO2, Omeric CO2 from the office. So it was at the same temperature upstairs. It's not at basement temperature, although down here it's probably pretty close to 70 anyways. All right. And I'll know if I still have a problem or not, because when I punctured it last time, right away it was leaking. There was a small, slow leak, and got off 2 rounds and then it got worse. But I'm really thinking it might have been that used 011, not necessarily the inner O-ring, but I changed them both in hopes that we're going to be able to get this test completed. Okay, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's good and tight. Let me just make sure again. Yep, she's good and tight. All right, let's try this again. Here, gas it up. Nothing's leaking. That was a pretty crazy bolt activation, though. It was a little noisier than I normally get. All right. That's aired up now. Let me go ahead and load some 6 joules. We got 2 left in here. It's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Make sure there's nothing going on with these. They look good. So I got 6 of these 10 gram joules. 2, 3, 4. All right, we got 6 of those. Got another 3 out somewhere on the floor probably. All right, so we're going to give this another whirl. We're leak free. We have the modified Birdcage air Plenum spacer installed. Again, the SSD slim power. And yeah, let's see if we can get through the second part of this test, get some numbers up so we can determine whether or not this Birdcage modification is going to yield any increase in consistency under CO2 or any increase in feet per second at all. So we got some good numbers with the factory Birdcage, that much is certain. So let's see how it goes. Okay, let me load the gun. That would help. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we got 6 10-gram AR tactical joules in the gun. All right. Modified Birdcage, 10-gram ammo, SSD, slim power mod, shot 1. 416 feet per second. That was good and powerful. Shot 2, 402 feet per second. Shot 3, 372 feet per second. Shot 4, 348 feet per second. And I hear a leak developing. Shot 5, 322 feet per second. And the last one, shot 6, 242 feet per second. You can hear that? Let me hold it up to the Bluetooth. So after the third shot, I think it was, I started hearing a slight leak again. So clearly I got an O-ring going on in there. Not sure which one it is. I did replace both of them. So, but hey, we got through the test. We got 6 rounds, so we got some data. That first shot, I mean, I don't know, like, unless I see some consistency gains, you know, I mean, I'll update the video with the numbers, obviously the joules, but unless I see consistency gains, I'm thinking it's a wash. I mean, it seems like they had about the same power. I don't think I added any power, but I could be mistaken because I haven't done the math yet. So by the time you see this, you'll have an advantage on me as far as what I see right now. Another good puncture. All right, that is the end of this test. I appreciate you sticking along with me and being patient as I struggle through O-ring leaks, and apparently still have an O-ring leak as well that I'll have to address. But yeah, that's the test with the 7-inch barrel, the Pistelle X-68 7-inch barrel. I guess you can call it 686 barrel. Running the 10-gram AR tactical joules. 684 is the size of the ammo, with the slim power mod and the modified Birdcage. Okay, that's the test. Anyways, thanks for watching, and hopefully you're having a great weekend. Peace out.